WT Live, everybody. This is Roses and Rosé Live. I'm Lauren Zima. Of course, Roses and Rosé being our franchise through which we recap the fabulous franchise of The Bachelor. Now, usually we do Roses and Rosé Live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific with a guest from The Bachelorette this season or from Bachelor Nation. But, you know, because of sports, The Bachelorette was on Tuesday night this week. So here we are on a Wednesday morning to talk about an explosive episode. And I am joined now by a fellow Chicagoan, Connor Jenkins, from this season. Connor, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Connor, I mean, I know you are Skyping in for us today. You are out on the road in the world after The Bachelorette. We're going to talk about everything.
Yeah.
But overall, was the experience what you thought it would be?
What I thought it would be? No. I mean, it kind of blew my expectations out of the water. It's not something you can really prepare for. You kind of just have to jump into it and not look back. But what I will say is it's a one-of-a-kind experience, and I have no regrets. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do it.
I mean, we're pretty deep into the season now, and overall, what people have been saying, and I especially saw it last night, even with all the Luke P stuff, is that Hannah got a really good group of guys. When you were there in the house, were you feeling like, oh, these guys are, you know, everybody's got jobs, they're smart, they're fun. Like, what was your just take on all of the guys that you were getting to know?
Good question. You know, I wasn't sure what to expect going in because the dynamic is so different and it's so unique. But I remember saying over and over again, you know, everybody here is an eligible bachelor. And, you know, to be there in the first place, you have to have something special to offer. And each one of those guys is so dynamic and so interesting and brings so much to the table for her.
Well, what I've liked this season, Connor, is that the guys also seem to have actual jobs, because sometimes they don't. And that's nice. Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, I remember when we were first meeting each other, you kind of go through the pleasantries and you get to know one another. And that definitely stood out. I felt like, okay, you have, and going into it, I knew for Hannah, I felt as though she needed a guy that was established and had his stuff together and was mature, because she's such a dynamo and has such charisma, and she's such a big personality that it would take a strong guy to really embrace that all. And so I was so pleased to you know, find out that most of the guys there had it all together. And
you said most of the guys. Who didn't? Who didn't have it all together, Connor?
I don't know if I could single anybody out, but I think what was surprising for me, you know, you don't know who's going to be there until you get there night one and meet everybody. And in my head, I was thinking, well, I might be maybe one of the younger guys, maybe, you know, somewhere like middle of the pack. And I was actually one of the older guys there. And
well, so, Connor, haven't you seen the show?
No, it's a good point. And the answer to that is not really. I hadn't really watched the show before being on it. I'm pretty locked in this season. But,
you're pretty locked in. Well, let's get into, you know, one specific guy. Obviously, Luke P has become a huge part of the season. And when I interviewed Hannah herself after the premiere, she said, yeah, Luke P is going to be a massive part of my story. She said that he was both the guy she had the best chemistry with and the guy who made her cry the most. So last night, we see the continuation of what was a to be continued from the week before, this Luke versus Luke showdown. And Luke S ends up talking to Hannah at the rose ceremony and leaving. We have a clip of that. We can show that. So Luke decides he's going to self-exit. Were you shocked by this? What were your thoughts? I was just a little bit like, I was surprised he did it, because I'm not sure that Hannah was going to eliminate him.
I agree with you. I was a little surprised myself when he made that move, especially at the rose ceremony. I kind of assumed, you know, when you're there, that's really kind of like going against the organization of the experience. And so, but you know, I think what was good about that is you have to follow your gut and you have to follow your heart, and stay true to yourself. And I was pretty proud of Lucas for doing that.
I mean, I don't know if you got to...
that's not easy.
Right. I don't know if you got to know him in the house, but I was really kind of looking for a why. I didn't truly understand why he was leaving. We saw him warn Hannah about Luke P, but I didn't really hear the why from Luke S.
I think I don't know specifically, and I did get a chance to really get to know Lucas, and he's got some really good qualities, and he's poised and really well spoken, and I think emotions run really high in those situations, as you can tell. And maybe he felt that, the situation was kind of unraveling and getting away from him. And, in situations like that, you have three options, right? You can accept it, you can change it, or you can leave it. And it seems like he chose leave the situation.
Well,
and, maybe we'll find out more in the coming days, but.
Will we?
Yeah. Perhaps. I don't know.
Do you know something I don't know, Connor?
No.
You're like, maybe. So here's the thing. I mean, obviously we're seeing basically everybody against Luke P. And we've definitely seen Luke P seem to tell straight up lies on camera, to tell the guys one thing, Hannah another, to contradict himself. He'll say, well, I don't have a right to say if Luke S is here for the right reasons, but then he will say he doesn't think he's there for the right reasons. When you're watching Luke P, knowing him a little bit, what is your take on this behavior?
It's my perspective, I think, is interesting, just because I got the chance to know Luke P and talk to him and understand a little bit about where he's coming from. Man, he is such a captivating character. He's just so interesting, and his behavior is contradictory at times. But I think the feelings he's feeling are real, and the emotions that you're seeing from him are in the moment and real. But his approach was so different than everybody else's. He really wasn't there caring about appeasing the other guys, and he was purely there to build his connection with Hannah. And it was an approach that I don't think anyone else really was taking. I think we were all kind of trying to play nice with one another, because that's part of the dynamic of the show. And when confronted with it by the other guys, he, rather than trying to appease them, he's just kind of doubling down on his approach. And it's only growing the target on his back a little bit, I feel like.
So do you think that he is getting a fair edit?
Well,
because he is sometimes, it's been a little confusing, because we also heard him say last night, well, no, my words are being twisted, but it looks to me on camera like he's contradicting himself. So I'm sitting there watching it thinking, when he finally gets the chance to speak, will he say, no, I wasn't lying, that was twisted? Like, knowing him, what do you think? Is this a fair representation of his character, that part of his approach to Hannah was to lie to the guys in order to get that time with her, to look good to her?
Yeah, I don't know in the moment. He'll probably reflect. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, so he's going to look back and reflect on what he said and how he said it and how he came across, and learn from it. I think that's part of this whole experience, is you really get to learn about yourself.
Well,
and
he's got some defenders. He has some defenders online, but I will say they're a little fewer and further between. Do you think Luke P deserves to be defended at this point, or do you think that the criticism coming towards him is fair? You spoke to the edit, right? I mean, all this stuff happened. There's no, it was on camera. It was filmed, right? And so what you're seeing is what happened, and it's real. It's not manufactured. And so, is it fair to defend? I mean, I don't know. I think I think the general sentiment is there for a reason, and it's something that he's going to have to deal with. Well, when you're watching him, come for Luke S or lie to the guys, what's your own emotion? Are you like wanting to defend the other guys? Are you feeling bad for Luke P?
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch, definitely, because everyone is there for Hannah and wants to develop a connection with her. And then in the moments when you're with her, you don't want to be talking about, other guys, and you want to be talking about you and her. But because he is so polarizing at the moment, it is worth bringing up. And due to the dynamics of the experience, Hannah doesn't necessarily see how we all interact with one another. And so it's incumbent upon all the other guys to make that known if it's worth making it known. And I think it's really reaching a tipping point, particularly at last night's episode.
Yeah.
And from my experience, with the night that I left, I think was really the night where it all started to kind of unravel, because that's when there was the massage incident with Jed, which was that definitely started his downward trajectory with all the rest of the guys. But what you can't deny is their chemistry, his chemistry with Hannah. And for good reason. She has seen something in him and likes him.
Well, is it for good reason? I mean, my last question for you on Luke P, and then we're going to move on, because I think we were all real frustrated last night with this. Yes, but when you say with good reason, is Luke P a good guy?
My feeling on this is, I think inherently every person is a good person.
But Connor, I gotta say, the guys have called him manipulative, a psychopath. Like, the words they're using are not light. It's not like we disagree. They're using these terms like psychopath. So do you think that Luke P is that far on the edge, or did he get caught up in the moment? What's your thought on him as a person?
I would say it's probably a little bit more of the latter, but that's only because I have only the interactions that I had with him while I was there to base this all off of, right? And so for the other guys to be saying that stuff, they're obviously feeling that way too. And I think that speaks more to the fact that, again, Luke P is there for Hannah, and he's not necessarily that interested in making buddies with all the other guys. And so, but I think what's happening is it's frustrating for the other guys there, because they're watching him build such a strong, I mean, he got the first impression rose, right? And so obviously he has something to offer, and it's in that competitive environment. It's hard for other guys to watch this approach work, because none of us are taking such an intense approach. I mean, he said he was starting to fall in love with her, very soon, very early. And that was kind of the moment where everyone started thinking, okay, well, what's this, what is this guy's deal? And it was just so
that was pretty early on.
It's just so different than everybody else's approach. And so it's, I think it's ruffling a lot of feathers, and given the high intensity and high emotions that are running through this journey.
Right. Well, I will say that
it's causing a lot of the guys to lash out, and then because of that, they're all kind of ganging up on him. And then that's a tough position for him to be in, right? Because now the more defensive he gets, the more guilty he's going to look, And I think part of it is we'll have to see if last night was kind of an ultimatum from Hannah, and to really kind of change a little bit of his approach.
Well, she's already given him a couple. She's already given him a couple ultimatums, Connor. I mean, and we saw in the trailer he's still going to be on the show, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I want to talk a little bit about a couple guys who got sent home. We saw John Paul Jones leave. We saw Mateo leave. They both, we hardly knew him. I'd like to see both of them in paradise. We never got to see Mateo tell his story of being a sperm donor, which was on his bio on the website. Did you guys talk to him about that in the house?
No, I had no idea. I saw that story come out, and what a fun fact. I need to talk to Mateo at some point. We need to learn more. But I would love to see. We definitely should. Mateo's a really great guy.
I would love to see both of them on Paradise. Could we see you on Paradise, Connor?
It's a possibility. If given the opportunity, I think I would really thrive there. I'd love to go to Paradise, but
great. Sounds like we'll see you there.
We shall see.
Want to talk to you about where the rest of those relationships are at for Hannah, because we're in it now. I mean, I think this was week 5. So we saw last night, and guys, we can just kind of show this, all this B-roll. Basically, it's B-roll of Hannah making out with people. Jed and Hannah had a heavy makeout sesh on the group date. We also got poor little Kevin walking in on them. There he is coming up the stairs. Find out Kevin hasn't actually kissed Hannah yet. That's awkward. He's gonna leave. We got Hannah and Peter making out on the pool table. Peter, he's struggling a little bit. Oh, bonked around the head there. Could have done better with that move, but he's a sweetheart. And then Hannah and Tyler, and Hannah took the charge with Tyler. She brought him over to that bed, so okay, girl. I was happy to see Hannah having a great night, seeming to really connect with these guys. At this point, who do you think, knowing them, seeing the beginnings of these relationships, who do you think Hannah is feeling the strongest for?
Based on what I've seen so far, I would say Jed is doing a really great job. I mean, he was so honest and vulnerable about his intentions on his one-on-one date. And I think that's exactly what Hannah had been asking for from all of us from the start, was just pure honesty. And I think that really scored him a lot of points and elevated their relationship. So Jed's doing a great job. Pilot Pete, he's a smooth operator, man. That guy, he's got a really great shot at being the guy down.
He wasn't that smooth on the pool table, though. And
well, so what's funny about this is Hannah is she's such a dynamo, and she's so quirky and real. And it's funny because those moments where you think like, oh, that was a little clunky and weird, she loves that kind of stuff, you know? And it's funny. So endearing. And she really embraces that kind of, because it's relatable. I mean, it makes you vulnerable too. And so it's, it's fun to watch that kind of stuff go down. And then of course, Tyler C, man, he really impressed me when I watched his one-on-one date, because that's you got to think about, coming into a situation like that. You have, she was obviously not feeling her best that day, and boy, he just took the reins and turned that whole day around.
Wow,
and made
do you
it so
have a little bit of a man
and...
crush on Tyler?
Sure, yeah. Why not?
Who doesn't?
Look at the guy. He's beautiful.
He is. Yeah. I mean, in the house
where you on Tyler.
In the house, were you guys all kind of looking at Tyler like, I mean, do we have a male model amongst our ranks? Like, was that a joke at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just look at the guy. He's chiseled. Yeah.
Who were the guys who?
Yeah. Plus, he's such a nice guy. He just is a big teddy bear.
I was going to ask you, I mean, look, again, we've kind of seen everybody versus Luke P, but a lot of real friendships come out of this show. Who amongst the guys, was just like a really beloved, good guy? I mean, you just called Peter a smooth operator, which I don't know if you meant that like he's shady or no, he's just a really good guy. Who was totally beloved in the house?
John Paul Jones was a fan favorite, man. Everyone, he's one of the most genuine people I've ever met, and genuinely nice. And it was funny because he would just make us laugh, not because he's a comedian or anything, just because he was so pure. So he was definitely a standout among the crew. I think Jed was a standout among the crew, and Pilot Pete too.
So Pilot Pete, smooth operator means good guy from Pilot Pete.
Yeah.
Okay,
meaning the guy's got game. I wasn't. Yeah. Now that I'm watching all these moments, I wasn't there in person to see.
And also want to ask you, well, first of all, it's good to hear that Jed was a good guy, and it's interesting to hear you say that Hannah is maybe even connecting with Jed the strongest because of his honesty about why he came on the show. He straight up said, look, I kind of was using this as a platform for my music. I mean, I think that was a first for the show for someone to say, no, I came on here kind of with the hope of fame. I know there are group texts that come out of the contestants. Were you guys texting each other about that, having some reactions when that episode was airing?
A little bit here and there, I think. So it's that part's been fun. I mean, I think some of us have connected, and and the experience that you go through there is so unique that it's you bond over it with those other guys, and obviously they're your competition, and in some ways that's kind of like your enemy, but you can't help but bond over that kind of stuff just because it's such a unique experience.
Connor, I got to ask you, last season, Colton Underwood's season of The Bachelor, it became a big storyline that some of the women were allegedly talking about possibly becoming the Bachelorette at the end of it all. Did that come up in the house when you were there? Guys talking about like maybe being Bachelor one day?
No. And quite frankly, I kind of expected some of that to be happening. Just because, it's hard. You can't just deny those kinds of feelings going into what you're going into. But I was, I even said this when I left, that, I would be more upset if there were a bunch of losers there and I got jettisoned, and now Hannah's going to have to, she's going to have to wade through who's there for the right reason. But, when I left, I was like, every guy there is a winner.
Good.
And so I feel comfortable, that Hannah's going to wind up with somebody that has the right intentions.
Connor,
and for the most part, I think you've seen that.
My last question for you, because I got to ask, because it's been on Twitter every week. Let's bring up this tweet of the salmon jacket. Why is this jacket just every guy is seen wearing it? I would imagine, because I've heard what happens is, look, you can only bring so many clothes. You got cocktail parties, you got rose ceremonies. Whose jacket is the pink jacket? Who owns it? This jacket that's being passed around, or is there more than one pink jacket and they just look the same on camera?
Yeah, a little bit of both, actually. But the most stylish guy in the house probably is Dylan, and maybe Dylan's jacket that's going around. But, just look at it. I think it's more of a product of that jacket's just so attractive that every guy wants their hands on it. So,
are there two jackets?
Pink's a great color.
It almost looks in
look
this.
At you. You're wearing pink.
Thank you. We got to wear a little rosé color for Roses and Rosé. It almost looks like Dylan and Connor are wearing one pink jacket, and then Jed and I forget who, maybe Tyler. No, Jed and Tyler wearing another. Can you confirm? Are there two pink jackets?
There could be two pink jackets, but I can't confirm or deny.
Connor, why not? This isn't spoiling the show.
There may be three pink jackets.
Connor, tell me the truth. What do you really know, if anything, about the pink jacket?
I don't really know much. I wish I would have been there to have worn the pink jacket myself. I think that would have really made my eyes pop, but,
All right, send it out on the group text for me. Find out for us if you can. The people must know. Connor Jenkins, guys, follow him on social if you've done already. Connor, we hope to see you on Paradise. And guys, The Bachelorette airs every Monday night on ABC, and this season is absolute fire. So watch it if you are not already. Connor, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Guys, Roses and Rosé, our recap of the show will be up on our YouTube channel later today. Thanks, Connor. Have a great day, everybody. Don't go anywhere. ET Live will be right back.